What official laws could be enacted to decisively prevent voter suppression? The official wording of a law, such as one that requires identification to be presented by voters, is hard to, per se, oppose, especially by a court, even if the effect in general is a decline of voting, especially among certain demographics of voting such as certain ethnicities. This also would extend to doctrines a court could adopt, like maybe making all laws that make it more difficult to vote would be scrutinized under the strict criteria, which is when a law is enacted to pursue a vital public objective using the least restrictive means available to it that actually move towards that objective, and that the narrowest means that can be used to achieve that interest are used. Otherwise the law is void. X 200b. The Voting Rights Act. We had a pretty good law already and the court got rid of it under the theory of it seems to be working, so therefore we don't need it. Designated bank holidays for voting. So many people are unable to vote due to being unable to get away from work in areas without mail-in ballots. Automatic voter registration. It can be when you get your driver's license or similar documentation that you get when you become an adult. My state gives the option for voter registration through the MVC. IDK how it is in other states. The one in Georgia really grinds my gears, where some voters had to travel 20 miles to their polling station. There should be a law that says it should be with 3-5 miles or so. I'd appreciate a constitutional amendment that says that every citizen at least 18 years of age has the right to vote. And then I'd like some laws that guarantee a mail-in ballot to every voter. All state legislation regarding changes to election law in cases of non-emergency should be subject to preclearance of a voter referenda requiring 60 in order to pass. 1. Automatic voter registration. People are automatically registered to vote, they aren't forced to vote. System would require a card, similar to a social security card or driver's license. So people do need an ID to vote. That would make the GOP pushing this happy, wouldn't it? Unless that's not what they wanted it for. Everyone would get this ID and use it to vote. 2. Online voting. Maybe as part of filing taxes a person could fill out a ballot. We trust the IRS with sensitive financial information. Why not voting? A start in the United States might be adopting an amendment that guaranteed the right to vote. As of now, there is no right to vote guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. Perhaps the 15th Amendment could be amended to read, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude." Asking you to prove you are a citizen of the United States is not voter suppression. Every polling location in a state must have the same number of voting booths per registered voter. Every congressional district must have at least one polling location open 24 hours for the 7 days leading up to Election Day, with anyone in the district able to vote there. None that I can think of. If you have a valid ID, are in your district, registered to vote, and of voting age, that should be all that is needed. No more, no less. Mandatory voting. The purpose of countries having laws where you are required to cast a ballot even if it's blank is to make it so the government has to guarantee that all citizens have the opportunity to fulfill this obligation. If everyone is required to vote, then government at all levels is required to let everyone vote. Re-enact the Voting Rights Act. Perhaps amend it so that knowingly making false statements about election results is a federal felony, with hard prison time. Australian-style compulsory voting and a centralised electoral commission body. Can a law be reasonably expected to eliminate significantly more illegitimate votes than legitimate votes? To me, that's the difference between a law intended to enhance election integrity and a law intended to suppress voters. Very few laws passed in the last few decades pass that test. Vote in person. With a free government-issued photo ID card. On a public holiday for election days. X200B. Can't make it in person? A valid list of reasons for being unable to vote in person will exist, and you must meet the criteria for a vote by mail ballot. If you vote by mail, then you must vote early and be marked as voted in some central database so you can't vote again. In person, we have IDs, whether driver's license, state ID cards, passports, etc. There is the ability for retina scans, fingerprints, even rapid DNA. It can and should be done. Not lowering the voting age to 16-year-olds or illegal immigrants voting. All this, but it's racist bullshit, has gotta stop. The existence of the DNC and theoretically the RNC, but I'm not aware of it ever being relevant in their case, is something that allows voter suppression. Look at the current situation in NH and Iowa, where pettiness on Biden's side over finishing 5th and 4th place in those states in 2020 means that those citizens won't get to have their primary votes counted this year. It's the second time in 15 years the DNC has pulled a stunt like this. Just make it a rule that stores that remain open could only employ on voting day aliens who are not able to vote anyway. For the most part, voter suppression is a made-up term. Everyone who is eligible to vote gets to vote if they so choose. Everyone has an ID, lol. If you don't, then you should try improving your life, because that's just sad. For the most part, it's Republicans who have turnout issues because there is nothing near them, haha. If everyone who lives in Western Pennsylvania voted, state would be 3 points to the right. Trump would win. LMAO. One great thing would be Election Day being made a federal. How about ranked choice voting? 1. Making Election Day a national holiday. 2. Automatic registration at 18 years of age. 3. Cracking down on voter fraud, actual voter fraud, not votes against the candidate running for office. 4. Mandatory voting areas in every city. 5. Making mail-in ballots an option for every state. 6. Outlawing gerrymandering. Well, could be does a heavy lifting in op. A large portion of the electorate, one of the two major parties, as well as the SCOTUS, does prefer voter suppression. So such law has no chance of passing. Can someone please give me a specific example of a U.S. citizen who wants to vote but cannot due to a law? Voter suppression is not a thing unless an eligible voter has been suppressed, so I would like to learn who these people are.